That right there is arguably the most interesting entry I've ever had in one of our games. There we go, straight towards the Catholicy scream. Welcome back, as I mentioned just before, to Europa Universalis Wealth of Nations here. Week number 4 of our developers play. We got 22 players this week setting all up. We got a couple of new faces as well. And considering we had to drop out of our game last week a little bit early, about 15 minutes, there are a couple of things that we have missed. Mainly the forming of the Netherlands out of Burgundy. Let's hop into the game straight away and see what we can find. The world is currently the 1st of January, or actually February 1434, which is the last date of the actual game. And in all honesty, it is time to get ready to go underway, and as well to see what the world looks like, because it is different, very different indeed. The Netherlands has formed out of Burgundy right at the start of at the end of the last session. It's currently being played by a play nation as well by the letter Z, and he's managed to colonize a part of North America, specifically here in pretty much Canada and the this particular area here, getting ready to go venture into the new world with a couple of already on standby. 2 colonists. Are these all being colonized at the moment? Yes, they are. So he's managed to get 3 areas already under colonized here in North America, with 2 more in the pipeline. How did he do it? He managed to pop off Bermuda all the way down here, and if you look at his actual colonization distance, he'll be able to colonize pretty much anything within this range. So there's a lot of potential to actually colonize here for him. But as the Netherlands has managed to form out, it looks like the Mamelukes got a bit of a smashing here from the Ottomans currently, as the Ottomans are moving. And the Ottomans this session have pretty much positioned themselves as mercenaries, pretty much saying to everybody, yo, would it be want me on your side? Well, I'm up for grasp. You can just hire me. And that is pretty much ready to set up, as they're all moving around and trying to crush the Ottomans, well, actually the Mamluks as we speak. As 24, yeah, Grugi is kind of in a bit of a between a rock and a hard place. 19,000 troops remaining, and he's being invaded by the Ottomans at the moment. He's not going to last very long. And if we could take a look at this war as well, so it's Ottomans, Bukhara, Chagatai, Crimea, and Venice invading the Mamelukes, as well as Morocco. Morocco is currently not being played today, and Bukhara here as well, being played by Bushov up here. And Sibir is being released. I believe Sibir is probably a vassal of. It is actually not a vassal of anything. That is actually quite surprising. You would think Sibir would continue to play being played as a vassal. However, let's move over towards Denmark, because they have managed to take over a big chunk of the new world here with the Aztecs. Aztecs have only 1 region remaining here in Tenochtitlan in Mexico, which is their capital. For those people that don't know what that is, it's basically a massive lake in the highlands of Mexico where the capital of the Aztecs is on. And we have a call to arms already from Denmark, from Muscovy versus Bukhara and Chagatai. Interesting. They're jumping on towards this war. Yes, they are. And that means that a second front is opened up immediately here for Bukhara, as well as the Ottomans, if you can quickly move over. No, actually, the Ottomans haven't joined this war, but if you look at Bukhara, is being invaded by Muscovy, because Muscovy needs that breathing space in order to come out. And the thing with that is, if you look over here towards Muscovy itself, Muscovy itself at the moment has Western tech, so they have managed to westernize. They were, how far behind are they actually? They're 868, so they're not even able to create. It's England's open. And if we look at the Bukhara here, they are Muslim technology, and that's one of the functions of forming Bukhara. If you manage to form the nation, you move from steppe horde into Muslim, but even versus Western, you're not going to stand a chance versus that at all. Let's take a look here. I'm also actually checking out the chat at the same time for you guys to enjoy, so we can actually have a chat with me while we are playing. So let's take a look at the world in general, shall we? Let's take it off from the top. Goose Creature coming out here is Japan, having trouble with Korea. It's a Japanese-Korean war of honor, very honorable, and that's all about winning as many fights as humanly possible. And that's only between Japan and Korea. Korea, in the meantime, is one of our new players, is in between a rock and a hard place as well, with Japan invading, as well as the Oryat Horde. Moving on towards Katalak, coming out here as Poland. Very powerful, to say the least, all the way from the Black Sea up towards the Baltic. has actually been running technology still, so potentially a bit of a deficit versus Muscovy later on in the game, considering they're already Western, and if we look at their ideas, the economic and offensive, so that could be interesting. Green Gratis coming out here as Brunei, probably looking to form Malaya somewhere down the line. However, he has a small problem here with a Portuguese colony being here. He is, of course, part of the Chinese tech group. So potentially he could move over to Western tech somewhere down the line if he has the opportunity to do so, if the Portuguese actually let him. Moving on towards Karsten, as Portugal, being one of the biggest colonial empires in the game at the moment, managing to form several colonial nations, and of course having the most expansive trade companies all over the place. And we actually take a look at the subject list. He's got 3 of them, one of which has plus 50%, which adds an additional merchant to his cause. Then we got little Fido coming here as these guys, as he is just chilling out here in the Southeast Asian area, of course, as Chinese technology 8856, so not all that impressive at all. Can upgrade technology now, and he is immediately jumping on board with that. The real Bogart coming out here as a Turmerids, being pretty passive, to be honest. If we take a look here at his subject list, Persia and Delhi are in fact part of his subject list, so he may be able to should actually be able to form the Mughals somewhere in the near future. Punjab, Sirhind, Upper Doab, and Central Doab, and that's all part of this. So he has got Delhi under as a subject, so he will be able to form that somewhere in the near future. Then we move on to Sacrifice coming out here as Crimea, currently being invaded by a combined invasion of Sweden and Lithuania. That's a very interesting setup, to say the least, but that has to do with this war that Muscovy, Denmark, and Sweden has set off on earlier on. So other stuff that's currently going on. Let's take a look here at Nuja coming out here as France. France is normally being played by Witch King. However, Nuja was playing as Brandenburg before and is decided to sit in here for Witch King, considering Witch King is currently at home. He was actually playing with the idea of playing as Orisia in India, but considering Witch King had to sit one out, he's decided to jump in for France this time. We won't be seeing too much aggressive expansion from him at all this session, but we will see. Venice coming out here, being played by Greykalf, sitting out here, having most of Bosnia, integrated Serbia earlier on, most of northern Italy in his hand. Not so much of the Kingdom of Sicily, but in the middle of invading the Mamluks in combination with the Ottomans at the moment. So that's a very, very interesting combination of alliances that we've got going on there. Bushov coming out here as Bukhara, already mentioned just now, one of the largest nations on the map. Coming out as, I believe, Muslim technology, and as well in the middle of invading the Mamluks. The main problem he has right now is he's also being invaded by the Danes / Swedes, so he's going to be with his back against the wall, because there's no way in hell that he can defend himself versus these Western technologies. Especially, well, there's some attrition going on here, and if we take a look at what date it is, it's currently March, so there should be some attrition from winter. Yes, there is. +5 from severe winter going on here, but they should have no problem whatsoever actually taking up a lot of colonies or a lot of territory here. If we take a look actually at Sweden, Sweden in particular, they actually have Crimea as their rival, not Bukhara. Who else can they pick? Nobody else at the moment. That's a bit of a shame. Moving on towards Obidobi coming out as Korea, again being invaded by Japan, as well as Oriat Hor right now. He's not going to survive this session, I think. Although Oriat is giving him a Seed Haxi. Oh, that's this one right here. It's a pretty big chunk still, though. I doubt that he'll probably have to go ahead with that because, yeah, I know he's forced to get stab hits. Grugi coming out as the Mamluks, also not doing all too well, being invaded by the Ottomans right now. And this is for Adrak, which is up here, right here, which is not very useful, as well as Karakonu, also not very useful. He's going to get invaded there, and yet another attack by Brunei. So Brunei is actually invading the Mamluks right now, but the Mamluks are currently winning this, so we'll see if that actually will all come down. Let's see what our stuff is currently happening in the world. Wissington coming out here as Denmark, also a large colonial empire, has most of Norway under control, as well as Denmark is trying to expand actually through the Caribbean. Has taken a big chunk of the Caribbean so far, as well as Cuba, as well as all of this area, and in the colonial nation up here. He's looking to set up yet another colonial nation, and has actually done so, which is Camaloso. Doing just fine, to be honest. And in honesty, he's looking to claim pretty much all of the trade power within the Caribbean, which is a huge chunk of trade income that he can get. If he can manage to steer that all the way to potentially the Chesapeake Bay, Gulf of Lawrence, and then move in towards the North Sea, he'd be in a really, really good position right there. Letter Z coming out of the Netherlands. We already discussed him shortly. Actually expanded quite heavily into the HRE, picking up a big chunk here. I believe not Münster, but Köln, as well as a small chunk of Hesse, and is actually looking very strong, as well as having that colony up here in North America and looking to expand even more. 3 merchants in the pipe, and I don't think he's got any other nations under his as his subjects. Down, of course, we got Johan coming out here as Ming, one of the strongest nations in the game. If it wasn't horribly nerfed, and you have Shan as a vassal under him, and it's actually quite tiny. You only 3 provinces. Technology-wise, of course, Chinese. He's very much behind him. You look at his faction. Right now, Taoists are in the temple factions currently set up. So, yeah. Currently looking to get more manpower recovery, as well as more war association, and that mainly has to do with the Mamluks trying to invade. Then we got Muscovy right now. Trying to do some stuff here with Bukhara, having no problem whatsoever invading at the moment. They really desperately need that land. It's actually the Muscovite conquest of Kazan, and if you look at where Kazan is, it's over here. And if we look at Muscovy, actually, specifically when it comes to their rivals, they actually have Bukhara as their rival, which will allow them to get a 33% discount on any sort of territory they can take. So if we go towards the menu for the territory they can invade, so they can take all of these. It's a bit annoying for them because Sweden has managed to take over all of this, which means that Muscovy can only take a limited amount of territory, which is a bit of a shame for them. But they potentially will be looking to take Kazan. With Sweden, if they can manage to take this over, they can sell it immediately back towards Muscovy, so that's a pretty big deal for him. Ethan coming out here is Oman, personally one of my favorite nations in the game to play. Full-on Ibadi, one of the new additions to the game as well. Really good fun, and they've gone for the offensive ideas and trade ideas. Trade ideas very standard here for Oman. May actually see some expansion / colonization ideas from Oman as well. But when we look at their trade with their colonization distance, they're not really within range of anything, which is gonna not be very useful for them at all. Alexavan coming out is Aragon, taking over most of Iberia, taking over Castile, as well as Granada / Portugal. Portugal's last colony's original mainland is all here in Setua. Not very useful at all. It's all been annexed by him. So there's that. Then we have Severcore coming over here as Lithuania. Also, Eastern technology being wedged in between Muscovy. Muscovy is once again at a bit of an advantage here versus him, but he is in this war together with Muscovy, so it won't be too painful in there as well. No, there's no sub button because we don't want you to subscribe to our channel for money. All you have to do is follow us. You don't have to. The only way you have to support us is just by getting the expansions. We will love you for to getting more expansions for our games. Why would we even take more money from you? That's seriously uncool. This is all for you, so you can see what we're doing out there. It's all about transparency. You don't need to subscribe. Just follow the channel. That is more than enough for us. Rufo coming out here as Hungary. Doing pretty nice, actually, for Hungary, surviving quite nicely after the last crusade. Eastern technology, of course, as well, looking at his ideas. Aristocratic and innovative, very standard stuff here for him as well. Palladium coming out here as Austria, arguably one of the strongest nations in the game. And to be honest, Palatinate is actually the emperor. And Austria... It looks like Austria is actually in the midst of trying to dismantle the HRE. Only 25 princes remaining. If they lose one more prince, then the HRE is pretty much disbanded. Maya Jazz coming out here as England. Currently, take a quick look here. They are tech level 8. They need 2 more tech levels to form Great Britain. Jonas coming out here as Sweden, big ally of Denmark. Also part of this invasion of Bakura. Then we got a new player here as Mechanics Punks. Coming out as Camaloso, better known as Cuba. And finally, Peter Skaber as the Bengals. Another I'm not talking about the band from the late 90s. No, we're talking about the Bengal. I think is it Sultanate? I think it's no, it's actually a feudal monarchy, a Hindu feudal monarchy.